Welcome everybody to your third PHP tutorial. So as we talked in the last video, PHP is said to be server side. That means you have to have a server to access it. Well, I mean, most people don't have servers laying around their house, so we're going to figure out how to test this on a local machine or a client-side machine. Alright, so if you have a website, you can use their server system to program in PHP. So I have a website, calebcurry.com. I can develop PHP, send it to the server, and then request it using my client to see what it's like. But if you don't have a website, which many of you probably don't, but some may, that's okay. We're going to use what's known as XAMPP or XAMPP, whatever you want to call it. What does this stand for? This stands for cross-platform, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and Perl, but that doesn't really matter. So this is basically a bundle that gives you a server on your local computer. So now we can put these files on this server and we can access them like we're accessing a website. So I know that's kind of confusing, but once we do it, it'll start to make sense. So when I want to access my server, my website server, calebcurry.com, I can request the website by typing in calebcurry.com. Yeah, this is totally advertising. So I can put that in my web browser at the very top. Well, if we want to access this server, we don't have what's called a URL, Uniform Resource Locator. We don't have one of those custom made, so we use what's known as localhost. So this is our new URL to access our virtual on our own machine server. So this server, to request files from it, we can use localhost. So to go to the home page, we could type localhost. Then we may have another page, I can't think of anything, like friends, for example, friends.php. So that is how you access files, and we'll be installing that in the next video. So obviously it's going to be easier to understand than a chalkboard where I'm just talking about it once you actually see it done. But there's something else I want to talk about. In order for PHP files to work, they must first be accessed through a URL, localhost. They must be on the server, so that's included in the first one. And second, they must end in a PHP file extension. So if you don't know much about extensions, every file has an extension. So if it's a picture, it might have a .jpeg file extension, or a .gif or GIF file extension, and so forth. So those are known as file extensions. You may have seen .exe. .exe. This is an executable file. So PHP files must look like this. So as you can see, this ends in a .php file extension. This is different than this is index.html versus index.php. These are both website formats, but PHP will allow us to run PHP code. This will only allow us to run HTML code. So this is very important. So when you're working and your website, your files aren't working right, you got to make sure, are you accessing it through localhost, and is it a .php extension? So how would we access this file? Well, we could go to the website localhost/index.php. If you just put ./index, it probably won't work. You need the .php file extension. Why am I telling you all this? Well, in order for us to code in PHP, we need a text editor, such as Notepad or anything like that. But with Notepad, for one, it sucks, and for two, it sometimes adds an invisible .text extension after the PHP. So we actually get index.php.text, which that's not a PHP file, that is a text file. So that's one problem with the text that comes default with the computer. So we're going to use Notepad++. And those are the two things we will be needing to download in our next video. XAMPP and Notepad++. So hopefully that helped clear things up why we're going to do what we do in the next video. And if it doesn't quite make sense to you, well, once we get the stuff downloaded, it's going to make a lot more sense. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and subscribe.